Looks okay. One viewer. Hello. No viewers. What viewers? Hello. What I'm doing here is imaging NGC7822 in Nina. Sub has just finished, but then I am live stacking it by sending the files over to my main PC and then running easy live stack in PixInsight. So if I can see, it's just stacked files, stacked to 7. These are 7 10-minute exposures, just a J channel, so that's why it looks quite bright. First time I've done live stacking using PixInsight. I know Nina's got a plugin, but I'm not running the latest build yet. Okay, so it's kicked in a autofocus. I've got my autofocus set to every 45 minutes, or if the temperature changes by 5 degrees, or if the HFR differs by, I think it's 10%. I wasn't even planning to shoot this tonight. I'm waiting for the Rosette Nebula to rise above some trees in my back garden. I'm going to be switching to that, so I just selected a target, found this one, never imaged it before. It's actually looking quite nice. I probably will actually finish it off. Hopefully we should see a nice V-curve start to be created as part of the autofocus routine. I have tweaked some settings tonight. It didn't start off too well, about 6 o'clock-ish, but I think I've managed to tame it down a bit now. So I use a Primaluccia Lab Sister Senso 2 focuser. So what this is currently doing is, from the position it started at, it's moved out 4 step sizes of about 349 steps, taken an image, worked out the HFR, and now it's winding the focuser back in, taking an image. So each of these points here match to this HFR size over on the left hand sides, and the smaller the HFR size, the better the stars in theory. So we can sort of see down here, I'm going to guess this is going to be around where it's going to find focus. So we should start to see this go back up this way now as it goes out of focus. These numbers down here are the position of the focuser. So you can see it's going out of focus. So if we actually look at the images it's taken, you'll see that they're behind here. It'll be going slowly out of focus. I'm not sure why the autofocus kicked in, to be honest, because I'm pretty sure the temperature hasn't dropped. Maybe it's been 45 minutes since the last sub. Maybe it's that. So we'll go over to the live stack. So this is the live stack I'm doing in Pix Insight. So what's actually happening here is the images I'm capturing are on a mini PC outside, and then I'm copying them to this computer here, which is indoors with me, and I'm copying them to a folder which Easy Live Stack is monitoring. And so far, since I've started, we've got 7 10-minute exposures, and this is the HA channel of what's stacked so far. So I wasn't expecting too much, but I can see when I zoom in, we've got these, which in theory, if I was to do some proper stacking with Windsor Signal clipping as my pixel rejection, these artifacts would go. I didn't expect Easy Live Stack to be doing that. It's more just to sort of see what the data's going. You can see a satellite trail here. It hasn't taken that out, but when I stack these using PixInsight itself, as in using the weighted batch pre-processing script, those will go. This is just really to sort of see what have I got without having to do actually a full stack. So as I say, it's the first time I've tried it, and it seems to be working. And you can do things like you can stop watching the folder and change it to monitor another folder. So if you've flipped out over a different date, then your files are suddenly going into a different folder. You could easily just add another folder onto it. Let's go back to Nina, see what the autofocus has done. So the autofocus is finished. Unfortunately, this was the last image it took, so rather than looking at something rubbish, I'll bring back the image it took before it did focus. So as I say, I've been tweaking my focus settings earlier, so I've got the HFR size on screen. That's what all these little yellow numbers are. That's the size of those stars. And in theory, the smaller the number. So if we were to say, look at this star down here, zoom in. Look why it's ignoring some of the stars. This star here, 3.09, as that is focusing, that number will either go up or down. The higher it gets, the more out of focus it gets. The lower it gets, the more in focus it gets. We're only 120 seconds into this 8th exposure, and in my sequence I've just got it set to do 2 channels because as I say, I wasn't even planning to do this target tonight. So I've got the H alpha channel and the oxygen 3 channel. This is with my Antlia 3nm filters. This is their second time out. So I imaged the Heart Nebula middle of December, was really pleased with the results of that, so I've got high expectations. And there's a lot of data coming in here. You can see this is one 10-minute sub, and there's a ton of data in the middle here. Look at guiding. Guiding, we're down at 0.54, 0.53. I'll take that all day. I'm going to check I'm using this correct. Select a reference image from the Start Lifecycle folder with the same filter. Yeah, I think so. Okay. I have to say, since switching to Nina, it's I don't think I'm ever going to go back to Astrophotography tool and SGP. Whilst they were great pieces of software, I'm just completely in love with Nina now. It's a joy to use, and because of the development roadmap, it's constantly being developed. It can only be good. Halfway through this, what, 8th exposure. Zoom into some of this. This for one sub is pretty impressive. Might look grainy now, but once I've stacked it properly, processed it, I think this will be a really tidy image. I really do. I like to see my HFR numbers, even though Nina's constantly monitoring them. I'll show you those options I was talking about earlier. So down here I've got, where is it? Oh, it's on the sequence actually. In the sequence, so after elapsed time, 45 minutes. After a number of exposures, I've said no. After temperature change, yes. After a 5-degree change, and after HFR increase of 10%. That will cause an autofocus to kick back in. One of the things I used to struggle with back in my very first year of astrophotography was without an autofocus. I was using a camera lens, a Sigma 150 to 600 contemporary, not with a DSLR body though, but with a ASI cooled camera. Finding focus, even with a batting off mask, it used to drive me crazy. And the fact that I don't have to go outside, and tonight it is currently 1 degree. It reckons it's going to be about -4 just after midnight. So the fact I don't have to go out is another bonus. Don't get me wrong. 99 times out of 100 it's fine. I have had it where it's just misbehaved. I was ready to throw it through the window, but it turned out it was me. I'd forgotten I'd set a setting. So I'm reluctant to change things, but I have had a tinker with things tonight. I've actually this AF curve fitting. I used to have it on parabolic, and I've watched a few YouTube videos from Quiv and a guy called Patriot Astro, and they seem to have it on a hyperbolic. So I've been doing some experimenting earlier on. I'm happy to leave it on hyperbolic for the moment. So we are 40 seconds-ish away from the 8th sub, which then have been stacked into PixInsight. I've got this set to do 10 HA frames and then 10 O3 frames. I might not let it do all the O3 frames and switch to the reset, which is what I'm wanting to finish off tonight and tomorrow night. I'm quite impressed with the live stack. It's not perfect, but I didn't expect it to be. But if you want a instant gratification of what your stacked image is potentially going to start looking like, I'll certainly try it. What I used to do in the past was I'd get about 5 or 6 sub exposures and I'd copy them over to this PC, and then I'd actually run a weighted batch pre-processing script to just stack them. And then when you got another sub in, I'd rerun it again to restack them, because there's a lot of downtime whilst you're imaging. There's not a lot to do other than monitoring things. And I've got 8 images in the stack. You can see behind the scenes it's doing stuff. PixInsight magic with the Easy Live stacking script. And that's effectively just now added that 8th image into here. You won't see much change. It's one of those things of you can watch something and not see it change. It's like watching the stars in the sky. If you watch them, they don't appear to move, but they are. So there's more and more data being added, being brought out, if I'm using it right, which I think I am. Back into Nina, go check guiding. Guiding, we're down at 0.55. I am dithering every frame. Call me dither mad, but I seem to benefit by, well, certainly what I found is if I dither every frame, and what dithering means is after each sub exposure, the camera, the mount will move ever so slightly by 2 or 3 pixels. You can decide in a random direction. And what that does is it it helps smooth out things like the background, so you're not always getting basically the same pixels illuminated. And when you stack them together, that helps smooth out the background and lower the noise. It also helps with something called drizzling, which is a whole different subject matter. But I dither right now after every frame. It literally takes about 10-15 seconds. Some people dither after 3 or 4 frames, 5 frames. I suppose I don't know if I'm over dithering, if that's such a thing, but it seems to be working for me, so I'm okay. Got a comment at last. Hyperspace, hello, welcome. Amazing image so far. Well, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, this is my second outing with this monochrome camera. I basically shot for the last 2 years. We're using a one-shot colour. It's been absolutely fantastic. And then I took the plunge just before Christmas to get some monochrome and a monochrome filter wheel and some filters. And I have to say, when I took my first image of the Heart Nebula last year, when that first 10-minute sub came in, I fell off my chair. It was incredible the amount of detail that was coming through. And it does look noisy at the moment, and that's absolutely fine. The only thing with this live stack is I can't do anything else in PixInsight. That's annoying. I want to do other things. The camera is the QHY268M, and it was a toss-up between that and the ZWO 2600mm. I already have the 2600MC. That's the one-shot cooled camera I've been using for 12 months, and I had a ZWO 071MC before that. The only thing that put me off getting the ZWO was the oil leak problem. And ZWO at that time, when I was weighing it up, were basically saying that it's not really a problem, just clean it yourself, and they weren't acknowledging there actually was an issue. After I'd bought the QHY camera, they actually came out, I think it was middle of December, maybe late December, and publicly acknowledged and said, look, yeah, there is a problem. If you have a camera, a ZWO 2600 series camera, whether that be mono or colour, and it's in warranty for the first 2 years, it will be replaced free of charge by the place you bought it, whether that be ZWO or by a reseller. So it's good they've addressed it. To be honest, if they'd announced that in November, I'd have probably bought the 2600mm. I was more than familiar with the ZWO ecosystem in terms of how their connectors work and the spacing. QHY does it a slightly different, I say slightly different way, completely different way. It's bolted together rather than screwed together. Different filter wheel, different drivers. So yeah, but I'm really happy with the QHY. The only thing that's a bit odd is I've seen some people have problems with the drivers, and that's certainly something I've never had a problem with ZWO, is the drivers just work. The QHY ones, there seems to be some history of people getting themselves into some loop where the camera thinks it needs the drivers, but the drivers are installed, so they uninstall the drivers, and then it says, right, I'll reinstall them. It says no. So I never experienced that, but I have seen quite a few people report the driver pack. They call it a QHY all-in-one driver pack. It isn't that good, but that's fine. So a question from NXU: how much of an effort do these drivel dither stuff have for a beginner? For a beginner, if you're undersampling, but if you're undersampling, that's like a whole thing, a different thing for a beginner to get their head around. So what I would do is drizzling and dithering. You can certainly dither. That will always help you improve your programs, because you're basically moving the image ever so slightly by a few pixels, and that will always help out. Now, drizzling you don't need to do. Drizzling is when you want to basically upscale your image without losing any detail or resolution. And one of the reasons you want to do that is if you're doing what is called undersampling. There is a website called Astronomy Tools, and if you go onto here, go to the CCD calculator, there's this scale here which tells you whether you're undersampling or oversampling. So if I put in my details, quickly find them. I've got an Esprit 100 ED. I put in the QHYs in here. To do my camera. Can't find. There it is. Well, that's the colour one. What it's basically saying is, if this bar here is in somewhere in this green area, your pixel scale is good for reasonable seeing conditions. Where you don't want it to be is down here or up here, and this is where you're either undersampling or oversampling. So I'll give you a good example. If I put in my Edge HD and go for my ZWO 2600, I've got the colour version of that. You can see here it's saying that the combination will lead to slight oversampling, where a good mount and careful guiding may help. So this is oversampling. Over on this side it'll be undersampling. So to answer your question, dither, yes, but not dither so that you can drizzle, because as a beginner you probably don't need to go into drizzling unless you're undersampling your images. Let's go back to Nina and have a look at, where are we? We're here. So 100 seconds away from what will be exposure number 9. I'm not sure what my broadcast quality is. I haven't got the fastest upload speed internet, so apologies if this is only coming out in 720p. In fact, I can probably tell myself, oh, it's not too bad. Making strange noises there, sorry. So the target I'm going after shortly is, that's where I'm currently pointing in Stellarium. This is NGC7822 as shown in the wonderful tool of Stellarium. I'm going after the Rosette Nebula, which is a favourite of mine. I actually imaged it a year ago in January as well. Let me turn, got the right, yeah, give or take. So that's going to be the framing roughly for it, so it fits really nicely in the middle. Doesn't matter which orientation this is, it will always fit in the frame. Not too much gap at the end. It'll just be a great target, a good winter target. So dithering's just actually happening. So you can see here down at the bottom it's saying waiting for dither to finish. Over in PhD2 it will say dither there, which is difficult to see at the top, which is in white. Dithering's finished. And what you'll usually see is your guiding, even though these corrections look as though they're really bad, it's because that's the way dithering works. So my total RMS is still 0.6465. But you'll always see some weird and wonderful activity during the dither. And the sequence has now resumed. So we should have another image onto our stack. So yeah, files in the stack now is 9. So when this goes to 10, it's going to switch over to my O3 filter. Well, this is We're not going to see anywhere as much detail, I don't think. I've never imaged this target before. It was just a random target that I wanted to fill my time in before I can get to the rosette. I'm actually quite enjoying it. It looks like it's going to be a nice target to process, so I am going to continue on it. But when the O3 data comes in, it's not going to be as nice as the HA, I don't think. I've never imaged it, so I don't know what the O3 data is going to look like, but usually the O3 and the S2 data is far less giving than the HA. I'm glad you found that useful, NXU. So there was who was it who did a good video on it that I watched the other day? I think it was Joe's Astrophotography. He has a great video of him showing where drizzling. Basically, he took an image, zoomed in on a star, and it was quite blocky. Then he stacked it with the drizzled version of the data and zoomed into the same star, the same range, and the stars would actually a lot more depth to them, a lot more definition to them. So yes, you have to pixel peep to see this, but when you're looking at an image overall, it does help to bring out that all of that detail. Your images are massive as well. So when I've done some drizzled images, this sensor is something like 6,000 by 4,000 pixels. When I drizzled, it was 12,000 by 8,000. And you need a chunky PC to start throwing those sorts of images around. Things start to get slow very quickly. So we're on image 10, 180 seconds in, guiding settling down. We can see we've got multi-star guiding, which is up there with running water and slice bread. So PhD 2610 brought in multi-star guiding. It was in beta for a few months. It just averages out the corrections based on the other stars being moving. So in the old version, it would just be looking at this one in this square box here. If that star moves, it would work out where it needs to center the mount. So what it's doing now is it's saying, okay, I'm looking at this one as my main, but I'm using these as well to factor into my calculations of how much to tell the mount to move. The overall net result is your guiding is generally, if you've got things your mount balanced well, polar aligned well, it's generally better with multi-star guiding by a long shot. And I know things like the ASIA have adopted the multi-star. I'm sure they've just stolen the PhD2 open source code and ported that to Raspbian, because as soon as PhD2 got multi-star guiding, so did the ASIA in the next release. I'm going to have a quick look at see where the rosette is right now. I'm not sure if I've got the correct time in here. 2024, I have. Now, is this on? Yeah, got this on the wrong way. I'm going to flick to Larium on this computer, which is where I'm stacking my images. Reason being is, if I can remember how to do it, I have my landscape in the back garden. So this is basically what I can see out of my window. There's this outline here, these trees. That's my house. So I should be able to, apologies if it looks black, what I should be able to do is where's that? Yeah, it's just behind here. So right now, according to that, that's in sight of my tree. Well, not my tree. These are actually my neighbour's trees in this garden here. So I reckon in the next half hour, I did estimate by about maybe 9:05, the rosette should become visible. we just whiz this on a little bit, we should see it. There it is. Doesn't get that high in the sky, to be honest. But yeah, by 9:15, it's well in view, and we'll clear that other tree there. So this is the southern view of my sky. So I'm quite lucky in that I can't see a lot of my north view. That's my north view. The house is in the way. But I do have a fantastic view of the southern sky and the western sky, not the eastern sky. Hello, Christopher Levesque. What have you missed? Not a lot, really. This is more of a test stream. I don't usually live stream because my upload speed's a bit crap. But I'm waiting for the rosette to rise to a position where I can image it, and I started imaging at about 6 o'clock, so I picked a target I've never imaged before. I literally just went onto the internet and had a look around. NGC7822 caught my eye. So I've been imaging it, and then I am live stacking those images in PixInsight using Easy Live Stack. So these have been copied over from my Intel NUC outside, dropped onto this PC, and then this PC using Easy Live Stack is monitoring the folder where they've been dropped to. Pardon me, and as soon as the file appears, it live stacks it. I've also been having a tinker around with this, which is something I'm potentially. Ooh, you don't want to see that? If anybody's used ASTAP, they probably use ASTAP for plate solving, but it also does stacking as well, and it also does image analysis. So what I've been doing is, let's clear those down, add them all back in. These are all my HA frames for tonight. Because I've got this option ticked up here, I've been asking it to analyse my image and tell me what it thinks is the worst image. And this is for a video I've got coming up soonish called Less is More. And this is a video that talks about why you just shouldn't just accept all of your sub exposures. And it's very hard. I find it hard to throw things away, especially when they're 10-minute subs, because I'm going, that's 10 minutes I've just wasted then. But the net result will surprise you, I think. So here, it basically, it's because I've said I want 80% of my images. It says that these two, which would just happen to be the first two that I took, maybe they weren't focused, the HFD's higher than down here, saying this is my best image, which is the last one I took, and these two are the worst images. And I know PixInsight can do this with subframe selector. I just like the way ASTAP does it. The fact it gives you these thumbs down, lets you do things with the files, and tells me which is my best image, or what it thinks is my best image. So I did a little bit of an experiment a couple of days ago where I did a stack with everything, and then I did a stack with what ASTAP says was the good and the frames I should leave out, and then I've compared the results. I've not finished the video yet, but hopefully it might surprise you actually. So back in Nina, this should be the last 10-minute exposure for HA. So we're dithering again here. The image has just been dropped over, so it's doing the final, what this should kick in. Yeah, it's kicking in PixInsight in the background. So that faster stack will go to 10. And it's kicked off an autofocus routine, and the reason it's done that is because we have changed filter. Now you can see here the filter's gone to 03, which is the next channel I'm imaging. I'm not using filter offsets, so I haven't worked them out, and it takes 5 minutes for it to autofocus. So right now I'm happy for it to just autofocus on a filter change. Let's even catch up on a couple of these questions. Thank you, NXU. Very kind of your comments there. You've been wanting to try this with Shark Cap. Any thoughts on a good, inexpensive camera to try it out? Maybe something to repurpose as a guide cam later. Depends what you call inexpensive. So I tried to live stack with Shark Cap with my 290mm, which is my guide camera, and whilst this is what the guide camera sees, it's a monochrome guide camera as well. I wasn't all that impressed, not with SharpCap, but with the camera stacking capabilities of well, image acquisition. It is literally a guide camera and designed to be a guide camera. I don't know if you're limited with budget. There are some cheap ZWO planetary cameras. Depends what you want to live stack. If you want to live stack planets, you want to live stack galaxies or nebulae. It's all going to affect the cost of things. Can you still see Comet Leonard in your half of the world? Unfortunately not. No, I think I've got it in my stellarium. You'll see where it is. Let me change this view so you can see the horizon a little bit better. The moon. Comet Leonard is currently down here somewhere. That's the centre of the field. So yeah, it's disappeared from our night skies now, unfortunately. Which focuser? So, okay, so you've already got the SV bonus for 105 and 205 for planetary imaging. What sort of scope have you got? What are those attached to? The focuser is a Prima Lucha Lab Sesto Senso 2. Oh. I used to have a ZWEF and I'm not going to bash it. I just found the Sesto Senso 2 better. It's probably the best way to explain it. It just works. I mean, it's got over 100,000 steps at 0.7 microns per step. It's a horrendously precise focuser for the price that you pay. And you can see here my my autofocus routine in Nina. We're getting a reasonably nice V curve. HFR of around, I'm going to say 2.5 overall. So yeah, 2.73. Happy with that. I love the Prima Lucha Lab Focus so much as I've actually got a second rig which has got a Hedge HD 8 on it, and I took off the visual back, and I put a SCT focuser on there by Beta Steel Track, I think it was called, and then I've stuck a Prima Lucha Lab Sesto Senso 2 onto that as well. The only thing that's annoyed me about the Sesto Senso is they've just released their Play software. Now, whoever wrote the UI for that interface needs to have a hard look at themselves. I can see what they're doing. They're trying to make it very similar to their Eagle interface, the focuser interface, but it's a little bit, I don't know, I don't think it's trying to be too modern, but it's not. It's just not very good. Basically, they've just released the firmware update for the Sesto Senso 2 version 3, and you can only update it through their Play software, and then they force you to use another ASCOM driver. So right now, I tried to do it on my Edge HD one, and it errored. So I've tweeted them, they've probably not seen it till today, and said, I'm not upgrading this firmware until you sort out what this error is, because you get a sort of a nasty error message and then it says, do you want to carry on? So I don't want to break it, so I just aborted it, and I'm just using what was version 1.3 of their software and firmware. I thought I budgeted £200-300 for a DSO camera, then decided online I could use that camera for a guide cam and then get a real DSO cam. £200-300. Gold cam's probably going to be outside of that budget range. Okay, look at ZVO. These are, well, I know my friend, I'm pretty sure Luke has done some DSO with his Newtonian with either a 462 or a 485 colour cam. I'm pretty sure he has. If you check out, not right now, Luke's channel, which is called Lucamatico, I'm sure he did a lucky imaging session with his Newtonian with a 462 or a 485. I might be wrong. If he's watching, he'll probably correct me. Maybe something like that. Whether you could use that as a guide cam afterwards, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to. I can't think of anything why. So the first image on O3 is coming in. So in theory, if I go into, this is the final live stack. What I could actually do now is I could start, when it creates the O3, is I could start live stacking the O3 data, which I'm going to try actually before I quit out of it. I'm going to see that. So I'll just wait for it to finish. I'm just going to see if there's anything I could do in these processing options. No, okay. Let's just wait for this O3 image to come in, which is 400 seconds away. I'm not sure I like that. Okay, the focus is okay. It's just it looks bad zoomed out. Hey, Astro Nick UK. I'm sure, have I seen you on the backyard, the UK Backyard Astro Forum? I think I have. Oh, in fact, was it you, the guy I've been not annoying with my tweets about your Primaluch Lab Arco and Isato focuser and rotator? I think it is, isn't it? So you just bought home a 17.5-inch Dobsonian. Very nice. Here in my yard, I'm building a large equatorial fork mount for it. Very nice. Thinking about an ASI 462 MC. Yeah. I nearly bought one before Christmas. I was looking at the 462 and the 485. I had this crazy idea of getting into some planetary images, but things have passed me by now. I've got my HHD, which I don't use that much, so I'm debating whether just to sell it and get another refractor. Not sure yet. It is you, Astronic. I thought it might be. Apologies for pestering you. I've been weighing up whether the Primaluch Lobby Sato and Arco are the way to go, or to go full hog Moonlight Nightcrawler, which is horrendous money, but does look very good. Oh, I want to see this O3 image. I don't think it's going to be as good as the HA channel by any means, but we'll see. The reason why we're seeing a rubbish image here is this is the last image the autofocus session run. So if anybody joins, I think that looks rubbish if that's what he's imaging. I'll bring back the last HA channel we were on. Last HA image. Let's see if I saw the moons around Saturn and I've been hooked on the planets ever since. I can imagine. I really can. I know there's going to be some good conjunctions in 2022. Is there one in September, October time with? I'm sure there's some. Is it Venus and? Can't find it. I'll just go back to 2021. I want 2022. I'm sure I saw something where there was something that looked really interesting to photograph later on in the year. Perhaps someone in the chat might know. Um, I've got a lot of time for the moon as well. Again, I had some crazy ideas of getting some really low, really close surface imaging done with the moon. I was looking at the teleview. I forget what those ballows are called. But it just slipped me by, and I ended up spending my money somewhere else. I do like seeing a nicely stacked Jupiter, though. I think that's probably that and Saturn are probably. I'm going to say my favourite objects in our solar system, but they probably all are. Christopher Levick, have you seen Damien Peach's latest Mars 360 image? Where he's basically got an animated image of Mars, incredible detail, rotating 360 degrees. It's incredible. If you haven't, I'll put the link in in the description. So Nick, it's no problem. I've looked at the Nightcrawler too. Just can justify the premium. Just yeah, on this donation looks cool. I guess that show. They do look nice. I agree that the Nightcrawler does look. I do like the gold finish on the moonlight stuff. But the Nightcrawler seems to be a little bit. I don't know, bulky, which is designed to be. But I get what you're saying. That little pop-up screen doesn't look as nice. The Primalucha Lab stuff does look really nice. You could argue who's going to come and look at it when it's in your back garden. Good for star parties, I suppose. I've still not made up my mind. I priced them up. I priced up the Arco and the Isato and the adapters that I'd need. And those adapters from Primalucha Lab are crazy. It's like £90 for literally a piece of milled steel or aluminium. That that does grind my gears a little bit. It's almost like a sixth of the price of the bloody rotator for one of the adapters. Where was I going with this? Yeah, they do look good. And I priced them up, and they're not a million miles apart. By the time I've got the Primalucha 2 items that I'd need, and the adapters, and the Nightcrawler. The problem with getting the Nightcrawler is First Light Optics in the UK don't have any in stock, and I suspect they'll probably have to order it. Whereas if I order direct from Focus.com, there'll be import taxes. Primalucha Labs are easier to get. First Light Optics, 365 Astronomy, stock those. So let me get you that link. Uh, it's incredible. When I saw it the other day, apologies. Oh, I didn't know that. They've stopped. Is that because they've fallen out with them, or have Primalucha Lab fallen out with Flow? I'm going to find it now. I will find it. I'm probably spelling his name wrong. Oh, hang on a sec. Is this it? No. About it, I will find it. So here's the O3 data. So, as expected, it is significantly less. What's going on here? Let's add that data in. Hold it. Doing that again. Right, that's not picked up. That's sub. Not sure why. Does it know? Oh, maybe it knows from the FITS header that it's an O3 and there's some settings that I haven't configured because I haven't said I create an RGB image, so it's expecting to create another its own HA step, own O3 stack. So if I start a new live stack. Yeah, you can see here data. We've got dust over here as well. Yeah, thanks, Astronomy. Appreciate stopping by, and you, Christopher. I'd say this is just a test stream. I'm not a streamer by any means. Catch you soon. I'm going to stop live stacking. Let's open. Look at these. One thing I haven't done tonight, and I always do, is pixel peep the corners to see how round the stars are. They're not perfect by any means. They're not bad. They're acceptable. Yeah, they're fine actually. The eccentricity is slightly. Just check. That was sub number. Check sub number 1 or 2. See if they're the same. Do this. Zoom in somewhere in the corner. Handy Pix Insight tip, if you pick this up and drag it onto that, rather than creating a mask, if you drop it onto that, it creates the same zoom level. If we do that and drag that way, you get the same zoom. Amazing. Yeah, I'm okay with those. Quick look at that. O3 sub. Yeah, look at that. Like the clouds have come by. But they haven't. Well, don't think they have. I've not checked. The way I check my clouds is this. I look in PhD2. So I'm probably only going to do what? We've got one image. I'm going to give this another 3 10-minute subs, and then I'm going to pause this sequence and go to the rosette. Let me show you the rosette data I've got so far. In fact, let me show you my last outing with this monochrome camera, which was my first outing. So it's my finished version. Yes, it is. This is the data I got from the Nebula last time. I processed this in PixInsight, obviously. So I was really happy with that. False colors, obviously, it's in the, well, it's actually a mix of the Hubble palette with the 4X palette. Let me show you what a single sub looked like. Here's my lights. That was a single sub exposure of the Heart Nebula. So gauging on what we were seeing earlier with NGC7822, we're getting sort of the same sort of data. I'm hoping if I can get a decent stack of that on the other nights. If I can get some O3 and S2 tomorrow, I'll see what I potentially could create out of that. So, do need to have a quick look at is how much data have I got that way. So right now I've got 10 subframes on Z. So if I take another 2 HA, that'll give me 2 hours, and then I'll start on the other channels. I do actually want to get more than 6 hours across all three, but if I can get some data on the other channels, I can at least start to look and see what I've got and add to them. I don't think there's a lot much more to see, guys. This is the boring part of astro imaging. Once you're set up, I could in theory go to bed now and wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and hope it's all good, but I don't. So there's not a lot to do other than monitoring and keeping an eye on things. So I'll end the stream there. Thank you for joining. Wasn't a planned stream, I was just doing a bit of testing. And I'm surprised I got 9 people. That's overwhelming, really. I think last time I did it I got 2. So thank you whoever joined for joining and for the questions. As ever, clear skies everybody.